Hello everyone and welcome to today's Stocks and Crypto YouTube Charts video. I am No FOMO Charts. Today is Saturday, December 6, 2025. It's about 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome everyone. This is a swing trading and investing YouTube Charts video. Let's go ahead and get started with the upcoming earnings releases for stocks this next week. We have earnings coming out of Oracle, Adobe, Broadcom, and Costco, specifically Oracle and Broadcom for AI chips. The biggest news this upcoming week will be the Federal Reserve press conference, statement, economic projections, and the federal funds rate. In other words, will the FOMC, the Federal Reserve, cut interest rates this Wednesday or not? That's going to be the biggest question right now because there's mixed data. Now, recent news, I'm not going to try to predict that, by the way. Just wait for the data to come out and then we know. Recent news, USA Federal Reserve meeting this Wednesday regarding interest rates and economic data. Other news, Carvana, Comfort Systems, and CRH stock companies were selected for inclusion into the S&P 500 index. Apple senior executives, engineers, and designers left the company this year for rival tech companies such as OpenAI and Meta. Netflix acquired Warner Brothers Discovery, and also Netflix executed a 10-for-1 stock split. So Netflix is no longer just a streaming video platform. Now they're a full-fledged movie production theatrical corporation, entertainment corporation. Chart events for the next week. This week, I'm only showing daily MACD bullish momentum formations. It's not final, it's all in progress. So Netflix, IREN or IREN, MSTR strategy, Solana crypto, Binance coin, PENGU coin, Budgie Penguins. There's also AVAX, Cardano, Doge. But I do want to point out that because we're in a downtrend for a lot of these stocks, that trying to time that perfect bottom of the price can be very challenging or can be a waste of time and money. So daily MACD bullish momentum formations are not always going to work. They'll fail approximately about 40% of the time. So 60% of the time it should work, but depending on market conditions. And MACD momentum, which I'll show on a chart, does not work as well once we start getting real high in the price. It works really well when we're down here on the S&P 500, for example. But when we're way up here, I mean, it's the all-time high price, right? So you can see, and I hope you understand that price and relative value is more important than a single momentum indicator. Let's begin. SPY, S&P 500 ETF. We bounced up from the 650 zone support, rallied up for almost 2 weeks. Very nice. And then we're reaching this resistance zone, which is about 688. We do have a shooting star candle right at the resistance zone. What's happening is people just taking their short-term profit. Remember I was saying in that 4 hour, once it gets that 4 hour, a little bit of selling, that's happening just for the intraday traders. Longer term, however, everyone's waiting for FOMC interest rate news right now. We did revert back to the mean in this middle zone. We reverted back to 20 EMA. We reverted back to the middle of the linear regression line. So I'm not worried, but I'm just cautious right now because if we get bearish news out of this week's FOMC meeting, then probably people will start to sell off again. We just barely went back into this trend line. And it's actually turning into this large type of symmetrical triangle like this. That's what's happening right now. In terms of indicators, stochastic RSI is in the overbought zone. I do like how on a daily, however, the squeeze in this particular indicator is opening and forming momentum. Weekly, there's no shooting star. 4-hour charts. The stochastic is high, so if we have a pullback, I will not be surprised at all. Let's go to NASDAQ, QQQ ETF. First, take a look at the price. Bounced up above 586. Resistance to the gap fill here, 628 in the price. Still in that short-term uptrend. Bollinger Bands did not quite hit the top of the outer range, but this one particular day hit the 4-hour above the Bollinger Band on the upside, which is why we had a little bit of selling on that particular day. A weekly chart now, we bounced off the 20 EMA and recovering for about 2 weeks now. Daily went from low Bollinger Band to reversion to the mean situation. Stochastic is overbought here, forming momentum on the squeeze indicator and MACD histogram. So we're in a little bit of a short-term uptrend. In the beginning of November, we started downtrending, people selling off on AI valuation concerns, bottomed out, short-term bottom out, I should say, for a long trade, then going up in this uptrend. Now, if we could just maintain the support levels, we need to not go below $618. That's the big lesson for the charts. I'll do Dow Jones, but just a lot quicker. Same thing, we had that Bollinger Band oversold bounce and recovering now into the daily uptrend. The stochastic RSI is not quite extremely overbought, which is fine. And actually the squeeze is even starting to build right now. So this is what I'm saying for weeks now is whenever we have these crashes, this is the USA stock market. We're in the uptrend that even though it feels like the end of the world for stock charts, will support hold? That's just the big question. If we lost the 200 EMA about 445 or something down here, then we'd be a lot more concerned. Analysts, chartists, the news, but we had a nice bounce. We survived earnings. Now, can we survive this interest rate change? Let's go to Russell 2000. Russell 2000, we had a very similar oversold bounce, recovering back into this resistance zone of 253, just rejected below that. Also, pivot points makes a big, nice resistance and support zone in the orange lines here. There's a lot of lines. First off, if I'm on a 4-hour, I like to see a golden up cross. Beautiful. Then we had the support play above the pivot point of 245. Perfect. Hitting this 252. So we're still in this short-term uptrend. Can we get follow-through momentum is the question. Okay, let's move on to Bitcoin, cryptos. Very quickly, I'll just look at my chart events just to explain and not confuse people. So yes, for example, on Netflix, yes, we are downtrending in the price. It's bad. They had that acquisition news and the stock split. So actually, finally, Netflix is not $1,000 anymore. It's $100 per share, which is nice for everybody. But this is what I'm saying. Netflix stock is actually not going up. The only thing that my scanner is signaling to me is that the MACD histogram momentum is beginning to build. If I'm very, very disciplined, though, do I have a squeeze? Is it ready to go up tomorrow or for the next 30 days? The answer probably no, but it's showing up on my scanner. Another way to look at this is until we break above the trend line in this falling wedge, until we break out of 105, 106, it's not a bull setup yet. IREN, however you say this company, very popular, Bitcoin related, crypto related, data related. I'm saying crypto correlation in terms of the mindset. there's just a double bottom here for above $41, and the MACD histogram is building. Not a perfect setup, however, because it's still in a downtrend. It's below the short-term EMA. So if I'm very disciplined, remember trend is our best friend in the market. If we're uptrending, that's when I want to buy. When we start topping out and going sideways and losing momentum, that's when I want to sell. When we start downtrending, actually the smartest thing is to not buy anything when we're downtrending very hard. You can see we're below the short-term EMA. We went from an uptrend, let me use a different color. We went from an uptrend to a consolidation sideways to a downtrend. So I'm not going to buy it yet, but my scanner is alerting me that potential eventually we should, if this goes above the EMAs and we have another continuation, that's when everyone's going to buy back. Strategy, MSTR. I do want to point out that in October, I was saying maybe this might have a double bottom, but remember, price patterns fail a certain percentage of the time. And like I just said, if we're downtrending, don't want to buy it. Don't want to buy it so aggressively. I could try like 1 time or 2 times, which I did. And then if it doesn't work, then just follow the trend. If it's going down, it's short. But on the scanner, it's actually showing me, wait a second. We're actually open here on this MACD histogram. We might get a small relief bounce. This is even beginning, and this is MSTR. It's such a crypto-related company that even if we have a squeeze like in this blue circle, sometimes it'll fail. So this is what a maybe for me. MSTR will probably not rally unless Bitcoin rallies up a lot. Let's go to crypto, and we're going to end. I'm going to go faster here. Total crypto market cap. We're still in the downtrend on total crypto market cap. The only good news is we did find a temporary relief bottom above 2.75 and $2.89 trillion. So we were going lower, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high. And then all of a sudden we had a higher low. That's why we had this nice explosion. The reversal, remember the upstairs reversal, one of my setups that I look for. Now, what we need to hold above is this needs to be real, this 2.89 trillion higher low. We cannot crash below that. If we crash below that, it's got to be some kind of bad news. But the bullish scenario is if we hold that support level, we can have one more rally, try to break above 3 trillion, 3.1 trillion. Do want to point out we got pivot point rejected just about a day or two ago. That's why this happened. Resistance, bears are loving that right now. Resistance, shorting down, flush down, rejection, bears are loving that right now. So when we come to Bitcoin and we look at Bitcoin, remember, what is the trend? Don't even look at the indicators, turn it all off. It's a perfect textbook example of what is the trend. Are we uptrending? Even my alarm is confirming. Are we uptrending? Are we consolidating, going sideways, or are we going down? I'm saying confirming that this is very important. Are we uptrending up? Are we going consolidation sideways, or are we downtrending down? We're still downtrending down. That is correct answer right now in the larger term structure for 2-3 months. We're not in an uptrend. That's why MSTR is not going up. That's why a lot of crypto stocks are going down. That's why altcoins were crashing. That's why Bitcoin was down. That's why nobody cares about crypto right now at December 2025 on social media sentiment, because we're downtrending. So, however, for me, I know when we start downtrending is don't hide, don't run away, is what I learned is have massive patience. So the setup that I do like, even though we're downtrending, is if I'm open to the indicators, we have a squeeze. We have a TTM squeeze on Bitcoin daily chart here. We have also a MACD open histogram as well. Let me turn on the actual signal line so people can see. Settings here. actually still open, right? We could see that down there, way down there. So this is what I like to see. We have a RSI bounce from the bottom, stochastic RSI bounce, and then we start building that momentum. So for about the next 30 or 45 days, if we can break out above this trend line, which we just got rejected below, once we break out above that, we're going to get a short squeeze probably. That's what I'm thinking about right now. But until it happens, the bears are still firmly in control right here. You could see every single rejection of, because we have a death cross on Bitcoin. It's extremely dangerous right now, but I'm an aggressive swing trader, is rejection, 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 rejection. We rejected 4 out of 4 times now. So once that pattern stops, if we reject again, right below, let's say 92, then there's probably a problem here if we do this in the price. But if we could keep this upstairs pattern going, if we have a morning star, which looks like it might happen this weekend, and we launch up to 98,000, shorts are going to get squeezed out. We could even reach $100,000 Bitcoin one more time because we bounced up above 80 and 85. Now the question is, can we hold and break above 90? Here we go. This is the big question. Ethereum USD. Yes, that death cross printed. That death cross printed. 100% printed. But if we look at the history of Ethereum, number 2 world's best altcoin, we've recovered from a negative 65% crash before. Right now, we had approximately from top candle wick to bottom candle wick, a negative 47% crash. This also happened to be the 618 for this year. So even I bought some Ethereum, and I'm just waiting to see. It's a risky play right now. Can we actually break out? Can we actually break out? Because if we're downtrending, sometimes we get the short squeeze. I like to consider this a double bottom above 2,700. All right. Get the higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low above 2,900. Can we break out of here? Short squeeze everybody out and prove the death cross wrong. Would be very interesting. We just had to break above that pivot point. Now, we also have a squeeze on Ethereum. TTM squeeze, open, MACD, and the RSIs in the neutral zone. It's possible, although the chances are not greater than 50% at the moment right now. So let's go to the final couple cryptos here. Solana. Unfortunately, this is what happens. Solana, when you go up, price goes up too high, you have a massive crash. We recovered from a Solana crash like this before, negative 65% off. It's only negative 45% off right now. In the long-term Solana, from the bottom of Solana, which ironically used to be $10, we are around the 50% range of that pattern. So the only reason I'm excited about Solana is, again, TTM squeeze is building, MACD is open. We had a temporary double bottom above 125, which actually is about 50% off at that bottom. Because I remember, wait a second, we hit 250 Solana this year, just 3 months ago, 4 months ago. 50% off Solana at the store. Do I want to buy that? I looked at the charts and I just said, my emotions don't feel good right now, but we have double bottom of squeeze. I'm going to buy some. All right. Binance Coin, BNB, also hit the yearly 618 right now. Also has a TTM squeeze building. MACD open, RSI in the neutral range, double bottom off of 795. And Binance Coin, one of the greatest crypto exchanges in the world, actually broke out of that trend line, which is what I like. It broke out of that falling wedge. It's an ugly pattern. This price is so ugly to me, this pattern. But I like the double bottom of A15. And can we hold above 862 and have a short squeeze to the upside. Can we do it in this month? Even though people are very busy right now. All right, let's do the last one. I may or may not buy this one, but it's PENGU, PEGI Penguins, one of the most NFT cryptos in existence. But why I'm telling people is this is not financial advice, but this is such a very volatile penny coin, but it just keeps popping up on my scanner almost every day. So I'm thinking, okay, is something going to happen then if it keeps popping out on my scanner? So I did notice, you could probably see massive TTM bullish divergence momentum. And if I zoom in here, I'm actually seeing a squeeze. Let's go max zoom. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 red dots, and the cyan histogram is starting to open up. Let's see, are we anywhere near a 21 EMA? Oh, we're right. We're under the 20 EMA. But some people, if you're an aggressive swing trader, we know when you get a TTM squeeze, and it looks like we had a temporary bottom, this could be the actual reversal spot, even though we have a death cross. It might just go up for 1 week or 2 weeks and then crash back down again. But I'm saying something, the charts are so suspicious to me right now that something is about to happen. So that's why Pudgy Penguins. Although the ATR is probably this entire range, 25%. So if I'm going to do this, for example, I have to do a small position and a large stop loss and a big target up here, like 50% target or something, and just wait for that. Because Pudgy Penguins crashed quite a lot. It went from the very top of this wick to the bottom, almost 80% off. Very interesting. And then it crashed back down below the spot of the previous uptrend in the summer, which I actually bought at that spot. I remember that. But remember, this is crypto, so Pudgy Penguins can go to basically zero. It's just a NFT, or it could go back to at least the bottom of the support zone, which is a long way down, which could be about like even 80% more down. But it's starting to look interesting to me, relative valuation wise. All right. I don't want to end on a little penny coin, so let's go to maybe a slightly larger crypto as the last one. Let's go to Cardano. Used to be my best friend, Cardano. And the death cross, never want to see that happen on when you're friendly cryptos, right? But altcoins, but it happens. If we zoom out on this weekly chart, the only good news I could give people is, well, there is a weekly trend line support line, which we just went below. If we can hold this, because I know the shorts, the bears said, we're going to short down all the way down to this bottom spot. And as a bull, I'm saying, well, if it gets to that bottom spot, maybe I actually want to buy some just in case that's some kind of bottom. But if I'm very conservative, however, I want to see the reversal happen first. This is a weekly chart. So the daily chart, when it loads, I need to see this never drop below 38 cents. If it does, then don't buy. I'm not going to buy. But if we hold and then we have this higher low, everything has the exact same setup right now, tracking Bitcoin correlation. There's so much open space for a little short squeeze here. Even just a little bit, one up to 46 cents, even just like a 10% short squeeze. We've had that volatility, 10 to 20%. I'm starting to get interested here. And look at that, TTM squeeze is building. It's not really ready though. We'll know TTM squeeze is ready once we have the red dots, but then we need to see at least some cyan for a real one, for a real squeeze, right? Here, okay, I'll end with this. This is a perfect example so I don't mislead people. Is if this is the previous squeeze, let's say in July, when all altcoins had a beautiful run in the vertical pink, right here, let's say if it was an early squeeze, what can we learn from this particular price action? For example, let me even turn off the volume first for a second. Let's only look at the price. I'm talking about we're downtrending. Let's say May, June. We're downtrending like we are now. How do we know we're going to go back up? One of the ways is if I draw trend lines, although this is a very ugly trend line, maybe I'll draw it like this so it's cleaner. We have a descending wedge type of pattern. And then once we have the breakout in the blue circle above the range, because we reject 1, 2, 3, 4 times. On this 5th time, it was the final breakout. That's one way to do it. If I don't use trend lines, what's another way to do it? Another way to do it is support and resistance. So if I mark it, I love doing this. Not love, but as a technique because it just helps me. Alt H is my best friend, horizontal line. So we had, that's what that is. Horizontal line, I'll make it bright blue color. Resistance, 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 resistance. Support at the very, very bottom. So you get what I'm saying. Mark the resistance and the support. If I just draw the resistance, I box in the price. That's what I like to call it. Box in the price in the blue. We have our resistance zone on top, support zone on bottom. If we don't drop below the support zone on the bottom, and then we actually start having this upstairs price trend reversal, then we have a massive breakout on the resistance spot at 60 cents. And remember the trend line that I used to draw right here. When I combine these 3 or 4 indicators, what am I talking about? We have resistance on top, resistance of the price. We have an uptrend price breakout reversal, and maybe one more, add some volume. That, wait a second, volume starting to angle up here. And then the 5th final one is the oscillators down here, even though I look at it a lot. The 5th final one to me is, wait a second, we have MACD open, we have momentum on, we have a squeeze on the TTM squeeze, RSI is in neutral. Definitely going to buy that. Greater than 50% chance that's about to go up in the price. And I remember I did trade, and that's when I had my most successful trades in the summer. So now fast forward to now. This is how wipe my emotional slate clean. Do the exact same exercise in the price for every single crypto and stock right now. The price is going downtrend. So then don't buy now, right? Or I'm talking about, don't all in at this exact second, but because we're still under the trend line. It's a little too early, exact same exercise. We're still in the downtrend. My resistance at 45 cents, my support at below at 38 cents. The volume is still below average, not increasing. We are starting to get the squeeze and the momentum is building. So you could see it's right at the potential turning spot of the market, in my opinion, if we're only looking at technical indicator charts. That's why I'm a little bit bullish right now, just from that experience. I'm only showing one example. Remember, technical charts is just tracking the price. So if anything bad happens in the fundamental news, for example, Federal Reserve doesn't cut interest rate and they have a negative outlook for 2 months, we're probably going to crash down if we have that serious bad news. Or if governments, or if there's some kind of global problem again this winter, we could see the price drop, right? Or specific to crypto is if crypto whales sell. I'm talking about, 10, 15-year-old wallets start moving all their cryptos to exchanges, a massive $1 million, $1 billion selling, then none of this indicator matters on the charts. None of it indicator matters. Yes, we are in the death cross right now. Let's just do a quick check. We had a death cross in the past too. So it's a different slide scenario in summer. It's different situation because we had a nice rally because the price crashed off tariffs. You remember that? In March and April, we all stocks and cryptos crashed so hard down. And then we had the chart setups that I was showing. So there's a chance it could happen again. It's just can the price supports hold on the bottom side, and when will whales stop selling? That's the number one question right now. When they stop selling and we actually can start buying again and having a nice uptrend, that's when we'll get the reversal. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. I went long over time today, but I think it's a very important, especially this last examples about chart setups. Thanks for watching. If you liked or learned something, consider clicking subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, share this video and this channel with your friends. And remember, patience and discipline is half of trading, swing trading. So remember, we got to just play our style and our strategy that has a greater than 50% chance of winning in this market, and managing risk by position sizing, stop losses as well. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.